I'd like to call the Finance, Ways and Means Committee to order for April 26, 2022. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Representatives Campbell, Camper, Crawford, Faison, Freeman, Gant, Garrett, Gillespie, Hawk, Hicks, Hodges, Lamberth, Lynn, Miller, Ogles, Sexton, Shaw, Sparks, Todd, Whitson, Williams, Wendell, Zachary, Vice Chairman Baum. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any personal orders or any announcements before we begin? Chairman Zachary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I would like to welcome Representative Freeman with some trepidation. Welcome him to the top row. Thank you.
Any other announcements or personal orders? Seeing none, just a word about our agenda and plans for the afternoon. We're going to take up the regular Finance full calendar first. Then we'll be moving on to everything that came out of Finance Subcommittee in the meeting just previous to this. So beginning with our Finance full calendar, first item on our agenda is House Bill 2762 by Chairman Doggett. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Doggett, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't need to put an amendment on or anything. It's already attached. Is that correct?
No, we do have to put it on. It was attached in sub, but we have to put it on in the full committee. And the drafting code I have is 017658. Is that what you have?
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any questions on the amendment? Seeing none, we're voting on drafting code 017658 being attached to House Bill 2762. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We now have the drafting code attached. And Chairman Doggett, would you please explain the bill as currently amended?
Thank you, ma'am. I sure will. What we're doing is codifying the current pay scales as of today for the District Attorney's Conference and the Public Defender's Conference.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Are there questions? Question has been called on the bill. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2762. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2762 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you very much.
Item number 2 on our calendar is House Bill 2672 by Chairman Terry. We have a motion and a second. We do have an untimely amendment that's been filed in this bill, 018187. Without objection, we'll take up that amendment. Seeing no objection, we are discussing Amendment 018187. Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Committee. This amendment, this bill is, I'm running for the Lieutenant Governor and the Speaker. They worked with the Treasurer on this. And what this amendment does is it authorizes the state to take into consideration whether a state depository institution has a policy that prohibits financing to companies in the fossil fuel industry when determining what depository institution will be used for the state's primary cash management banking services.
All right, we had a motion and a second on the bill. We need a motion and a second on the amendment. We have a motion and a second. You've heard the description of the amendment. Are there any questions for the sponsor? Representative Shaw?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to know the amendment make the bill.
Yes.
I don't believe the amendment rewrites the bill entirely. So, but we will ask the chairman to explain the bill in full.
Okay. It's essentially the same.
Chairman Terry.
Oh, thank you. It says by deleting section 1 and substituting, which section 1 is that it speaks about when entering into a contract or amendment with the state depository for the state's primary cash management banking services that may take into consideration whether the state depository has a policy that explicitly prohibits financing to companies in the fossil fuel industry without an ordinary business purpose. So basically what this is doing is that if a state depository institution adopts a policy relative to fossil fuels that runs counter to the fiduciary duty of the treasurer, then he may take that into consideration when he enters into a contractual agreement for the state's primary cash management.
All right, again, you've heard the sponsor's explanation. Are there further questions? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2672 as amended.
we have
All in
to-
favor?
Do we have to adopt the amendment first? Did we vote on the amendment?
Oh, I'm sorry, we're still on the amendment. I do apologize. It's a long day that's going to get longer. So we are voting on the amendment 018-187. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. And you've heard the sponsor's explanation of both the amendment and the bill. Are there any further questions? Now we're voting on House Bill 2672. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2672 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Next, we have Chairman White and House Bill 2143. We have a motion and a second. We have an amendment on this bill filed by Representative Freeman, 017117. Representative Freeman, do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second. Representative Freeman, you're recognized.
Thank you. I move to withdraw.
Representative Freeman moves to withdraw without objection. The amendment is withdrawn. We're back on House Bill 2143. Without that amendment, Chairman White, please describe what your bill does.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. And Chairman, is everything in order? I'm working off Amendment 16859. Is that line up with your records?
That amendment is traveling with it. So Chairman
Okay.
White, it's in the proper order.
Thank you. Okay, members, briefly, well, I'll say briefly, but we'll go into as much as you like. Amendment 2143 is known as Tennessee Investment and Student Achievement Act, which has an acronym TISA. We've been talking about it. It is a way of looking at how we fund K through 12 education in our state. For the past 30 years, the formula for funding K through 12 education has been the BEP formula. And the more I look at this TISA plan, we have had a lot of intense look at this for the past 6 months. And the more I look at this each and every week, on my part, I become more and more sold on this. The BEP formula, which has served us for the past 30 years, is really based upon 127 elements and 46 components. That's why there's probably no one in here, including myself, that can really give you a description of how it works. The way it basically worked, it's way we fund based upon resources, more inanimate resources, and based upon numbers and ratios. And so it never fully works for each individual child. What we're looking at is going to a formula under TISA that is really just based on 20 components. You can add up 20 lines because it takes it away from resources, but the resources are your students. And so you fund based upon the need of that student in the school, which makes sense because education K through 12 is about the student. And so moving forward, the way this particular program is working is you are funding based upon really just a few elements. You have your base. Your base is comprised of the 46 elements of the BEP. All those things are in there, like teacher salaries, facilities. All those things are in the base, and it comes out in this form of $6,860. And so you have that base, but then from there you go to the next part, which is your weights, and you fund on a percentage basis for the student needs. What are the student needs? Such things as economic disadvantage, or concentrated poverty, or how small the district is, or how sparse the district is. And then also based upon the unique learning needs of each individual student, which is a part of a 1 through 10 system. And you then take a percentage of the base. And that's how you add all things up to see what each student gets. You have a couple more elements. You have direct funding. Direct funding, one thing that we wanted to put in there, every student in a K through 3 third grade in every school gets an extra $500 to address early childhood literacy. And so say if you got 3,000 K through 3 students in your district, out of the total, that's, I think I added up right, $1.5 million more. Just you can focus on early childhood literacy. You also have direct funding for literacy tutoring of 4th graders. If they have moved on from 3rd grade, but they still need some help, there's that in there. And then we continue the CTE support. Right now, CTE, each student generates about $4,500. This will raise it to an average of about $5,000. And then lastly, you have outcomes funding. If districts do very well in certain areas, such as their 3rd grade reading performance is doing well, there's bonus measures in there. And then there's also an element for fast growth districts, districts that are really going in population. So what we're doing is we're creating a much simpler solution, or funding formula, I should say, for our schools. And what I really like about it is it still gives tremendous flexibility to the local district to spend the money where they need it. They're not being directed to spend it on a number of nurses or counselors or mental health specialists or librarians, whatnot, or even teachers, but they can take this and base it upon what the needs of that school district and that particular school are. And so moving forward with that explanation, I'd be glad to answer questions. I wanted to point out we do have the department and the commissioner with us today if anyone wants to address that. But that is a brief synopsis of where we're going. It's a plan that I really think that will serve us greatly in the coming years. And what I really like about it is accountability. We know where the money's going. We know that child in that school is being funded based upon that child's needs. And if we're not moving 3rd grade literacy forward, when we are funding 3rd grade literacy, we have an accountability measure to say, why is it not happening in that school district or in that particular school? And with that, Madam Chairman, I would renew my motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Shaw, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for explaining this. Of course, you know, we come to every once in a while here in the legislature, we come to a point where we really don't know where we're going. We start feeling our way. And that's kind of how I feel about TISA, because I'm not on education. So it's a lot I don't know. Appreciate you bringing, but let's start with one of the concerns that I have and have kind of heard from people, and this is kind of street talk. What about the maintenance of effort when it comes to the local? 5 years from now, what would be the responsibility of my district compared to the first 3 or 4 years? Can you kind of talk about that?
Chairman White?
Yes, I can address that based upon the research that has been given to me. 140 districts out of approximately 146 districts in the county already have a higher maintenance of effort than what the fiscal capacity calls for in that particular community. So TISA, according to research, and they have run the graph out for the next 10 years, will stay below the local portion, the local required portion, based upon what the communities put in, will stay lower than what the BEP formula is going forward. And so, but many districts are ahead of that because they are putting more because of the MOE, the maintenance of effort, than what is required under the formula.
Representative Shaw?
I keep hearing you use the term very well, and how it'll help students with reading ability and all. Is this formula based upon how well a school do? If a school don't do well, can you speak to how that formula would be working in a school that don't do well compared to a school that's doing well?
Chairman White.
Let's see, if I understand your question correctly, based upon whether a school, no, what it does, if you have a school district, which is made up of individual schools, and they have certain needs, say they are not performing well in third grade reading, or maybe they need more RTI teachers, or maybe they need more nurses because they've got issues in their community, mental health specialists. They have the flexibility with the funding that comes on each child to bring in more.
Okay.
And they don't have to put it in an area necessarily that may not be addressed. Let me give you a quick example, which we may or may not know, which may help a little bit. Under the BEP formula, since we fund according to resources and ratios, if you have a district that has 266 students in that particular school, they are funded for one librarian. But if that school only has 264, they are funding for one half of a librarian. So we're not funding based upon, so there you go have a shortage. You either got two schools that have a half a librarian sharing it, or one that may have a full-time librarian. So we want to get away from trying to meet based upon ratios, that we send the money based upon the type of students there and let the superintendent in the district determine what are their needs. But with great flexibility, but with great accountability for us.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you. Last question, because I'm sure other people have got questions, but let me just quickly kind of summarize what I think I hear you saying. If I'm a school director under this new program, I can reach out and get the employees, the supplies, et cetera, I need to make sure that a student get what he or she needs for their learning ability. And because the money is not dedicated to any one certain area. In other words, I can't say this is for nursing, so I can only use it for nursing under the old program. If I need 2 nurses, I can get 2. If I need 3, I can get 3. Is that what I'm hearing you saying?
Basically, yes, that it gives, if I were a superintendent of school with this flexibility where I could address the needs of my district, I would really like this. And just so you know, like I mentioned before, I've been on the education committee for 9 years. I know for the past, Representative Hawk on this committee, there he is. How many years, the representative, we've tried to fund nurses from a ratio of 1 to 3,000 students to 1 to 750. In this base that it's already put into the formula that we are funding nurses 1 to 750 in the base. So that math is already in there. So we have done what we've tried to do for 4 years. But if you are a district that doesn't need a nurse in every school, most of them, I would say they do, you still have the flexibility to bring your resources where they're needed. So the answer to your question would be yes.
Are there further questions? Representative Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. I'm looking at, I think we're on the amendment that makes the bill. Is that correct? Or,
We're on the bill.
Yeah, we're going to do.
it says that TISA will establish a committee which includes State Board of Education, Executive Director, Commissioner of Education, and 9 other individuals. But number 9, it states that the representatives of various local stakeholders as appointed by the SBE. Could you give me some idea of who those local stakeholders could be?
Chairman White.
Thank you, Shirley. I want to say, I may need to get a little help on that. I want to say we removed that section, or did we? We did not. I may have to get a little help from the department on that particular question. We've floated back and forth on that. Let me get you a complete answer on that.
Oh, okay.
Representative Miller, did you have a follow-up?
Oh, yes. Is he getting an answer on that?
Chair Lady,
Yes, Chairman White.
got an answer to your question. It's the same makeup right now as we have in the current BEP. There's been no change under the TISA formula for your question.
Okay, thank you. Next question. It grants the Department of Education sole rulemaking authority and removes the State Board of Education rulemaking authority over education finance. Is that accurate?
No, the
factual?
State Board of Education it also is brought into this part also. They have not been removed. They were put,
Okay,
that was clarified in an amendment earlier.
thank you.
Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. And maybe this is more just a comment. We were talking about the flexibility that LEAs will have with the new funding formula. But when you think about when CTE programs start getting funded, and so when LEAs start getting funded based on the students they have enrolled in CTE programs, and so they begin to receive the funding for CTE. But if they have the flexibility and they spend that somewhere else, and they don't put it into their CTE programs, eventually that's going to cause a problem, because then they have no CTE programs for students to get in, for them to generate revenue to help continue to whatever it was they were spending it on. So I think that's important that we say, when we say, well, they can spend it ever how they want to, well, they can, but we got to be careful to say they should really spend, if it's for CTE and it's being generated for CTE, they better spend it on CTE, because if not, then it's going to be to their demise, unfortunately. So, as far as this plan goes, I think there's still some things that we need to look at, some things we need to work on. But I do think that this funding formula is a step in the right direction. Is it the end all be all? And are there some issues when you look at it? I think there certainly are. But I think it does get us closer to getting us where we want to go eventually. And I think this is the start of that. So I thank you for bringing the bill. And again, I thank the department. I know they've worked hard, and I know there's been a lot of stakeholders that have been interested in this, all the way from folks that are here in this audience to the folks that I work for back in my school district. And again, I still just feel like that with all the issues we have with BEP, when you look with the BEP, you look at the ratios and the numbers and the ADMs and trying to figure that out. It is hard to follow BEP. But make no mistake about it, TISA is still not the easiest thing to follow, just to be honest with you. When you really drill down, it's easy to say the base funding, and it's 6860, and that's easy to follow. But when you really start drilling down to what that base includes, it does get a little hard to explain. I'm going to be honest with you. It kind of gets that BEP feel just a little bit. But again, I say all that to say that this will get us on the road to finally getting funding education better than what we have it now. And so that's why I'm going to support it, and that's why I'm going to be voting yes on the legislation.
Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for those comments. And along the same vein, I just want to kind of highlight, some of the things that are in this bill involve an increase in base teacher pay. Our teachers that are entering into the profession are not making as much money as they should right now. You've heard me say publicly several times, my little brother just started a 7th grade teacher. He knew he wasn't going to get rich being a teacher. He's teaching because he loves it. But for those entry-level teachers over the next few years, we need to increase their base pay. We need to compensate them better. The state is setting up, all of us are setting up to put in roughly $1 billion in additional education funding for next year. If you put $1 billion in the BEP, every single local district will have to raise their taxes. It's just the way it is. That's what the BEP does right now. It restricts us from being able to put in additional state revenue without requiring a significant amount more from our locals. TISA gives us at least the flexibility for the next several years to invest more state dollars, increase that teacher pay, make a shift to greater CTE opportunities without forcing our local governments to pay in significantly more than they're paying in right now. It gives them an opportunity to have a buffer there. That doesn't exist under the BEP. And then lastly, I just wanted to say, I think it is monumental that we are shifting away from one path for every single student. For the better part of 30 years under the BEP, we have assumed and pushed for every student to attend a 4-year institution after their K through 12 education. It doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. It was never going to work. It's a great, applaudable goal to say that, look, every student can go to college. Well, they can and they should. But that looks different for every student. For some students, that college is a TCAT. For some students, that college is their local community college. For some students, under this bill at least, college may be obtaining the level of education they need by the time they graduate to enter the workforce and succeed. Over the last 30 years under BEP, we've left 70% of our children behind. That's just the facts. This changes that so that their literacy rate goes up, and on top of that, they have the skills they need to be employable. So not only will I be supporting this, but I would ask that each and every person support this as well. This is not a partisan issue. It does not have to be. None of our kids that want a good education care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. They want you to put your name on the line, hit the right button and say, care about me as a kid and make sure I get a better education. That's the goal of this bill, and that's what you have made your entire lifetime of trying to make happen. And I applaud you, Chairman, for carrying the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Sponsor, I have about 3 questions you can help me with. Does
Did you
this-
make it 2?
3, maybe 4. Does this bill in this current form deal with the CDF that we talked about, the cost differentiation funding?
Chairman White.
The bill before you in this thing does not. However, I think I'm free to say there is the Senate version, which does. And so we're working to align the two. And I guess I have the freedom to say this too. All parties are in agreement.
Okay.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to the point that Representative Miller was making earlier about the advisory board, it appears to me that this board is only going to work in advisory capacity versus the BEP board made rules, recommended rules to the Department of Education. So that seems to be a difference in the terms of the role of this advisory board. Is that true, or am I wrong in that? Will this board be able to recommend rules or just advise?
Same thing. It is my understanding that this TISA bill doesn't change any of that. Whatever the advisory board and the BEP, as well as in the TISA, would remain the same.
Okay, thank
Leader
you.
Camper.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry about that. Also, I've been concerned about how we're going to deal with inflation with this new funding formula. Can you speak to that? Are we still open to adding some language where we can take care of inflation differences? Like right now, inflation's at 8.5, maybe more now, I don't know. And this only accounts for about 4.5% inflation. So how do you expect how do you plan to deal with that as we move forward in years to come?
Chairman White.
Thank you. That may be someone addressed the numbers, but I would assume we'd have to deal with inflation, whether we stay with BEP and or TISA. We as a state do desire to continue adding more money into our K through 12. And I will add that we are very blessed as a state right now that we can be having this discussion. But I would assume inflation, regardless of whether on the BEP formula or the TISA model, is something we'll have to address. I do want to point out that a bill such as TISA, should it be passed in both chambers, it's not effective until the 2023-2024 school year, which we, go through rulemaking process, and we could still address a lot of things that may come up.
Leader Camper.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Because I think the way the BEP is now, it kind of accounts for that. And I don't think we do it in this bill. And I could be wrong, but I have not found a language that says that. So that's why I was hoping we could include it in. But if you're willing to continue to work, I think we should dig deeper and look at how we can address that. And I
Absolutely.
know we have time, like you said, still be BEP this year.
Leader Camper.
Lastly, Mr. Chairman, I think when we were in Finance Sub, we talked about within the formula, if you add the extra funds, and we still will have these teachers that were kind of on the outside that wasn't included in the formula, and you still have to find out a way to give these extra teachers this pay raise. So how are we dealing with that in this bill? In the TISA formula, how do we deal with these teachers that's not accounted for in this BEP formula to where in the past, we'll say, well, we'll give teachers a 4% raise, and they really don't get 4% because you have to count in all these other teachers that's not in that formula as it is right now. Does this bill allow for a 4% raise regardless of where these teachers are within the formula as it is now, outside the formula as it is now? Will they all be able to get this 4% raise, for instance?
Chairman White.
Yeah, I think I understand exactly where you're going, and I think that's one of the beauties of this particular formula outside the BEP. As long as we're trying to fund as a state based upon a ratio or numbers, like we fund our teachers in the BEP based on like 1 per 25 or 1 per 20 in the classroom. But we have 11,000 teachers across the state who exceed the BEP ratio that we fund. Therefore, that's where the local districts are having a time. They say, well, you pass RTI mandates and we got to hire teachers. So what this does is it funds according to the students that you need. So you as a district can hire the teachers that you need in that particular area. So it gets away from the ratio, which is what I really like about it, because we could fund a formula based on ratios again. But as soon as the district hired one more teacher, we're outside the ratio again, and they're saying, "Hey, state, you don't fully fund this formula because we're outside the ratio." So we're getting away from funding according to ratios, which I think is a good idea.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor.
Representative Shaw.
Thank you. And I'll be very brief because when we get to the floor, I wanted to just punch the button, red or green, and go. I guess my question to you, Mr. Chairman, is two real quick questions. Number one, will the school directors or school superintendents be brought here to understand how this program works so that they don't go in the wrong direction? Will that happen? Will they be brought here? Will there be some workshops across the state?
Chairman White.
Yeah, part of this legislation is when you say brought here, there's professional development for those to help them understand exactly. That's part of the legislation.
Thank you. And finally, I know, unforeseen progress is always frightening. It's frightening to all of us. I get that. I'm with you on this because what I want to believe is that if there are bumps in the road and we got a little while to look at that, are you willing to bring legislation back to fix whatever that is if we find bumps in the road on this program that we need to fix? I just need to get that on record.
Chairman White.
Well, I didn't get any opponents this year, so maybe I will be back next year. So I will. You never know when you have opponents, but and let me just make a point to that. That's one reason a lot of people have said, well, let's don't rush, let's move on. We're here for 2 years. We don't know how long, and we've gone through a lot of effort trying to get this far. But the 9 years I've been on Education Committee, that's what we're looking for, is how do we do a better job than what we've done? And we can do a better job. Funding is important, but funding without the right leadership doesn't work. It doesn't help anything. We all know that. So to answer your question directly, next year we continue on this, and if the Speaker lets me continue to be on Education Committee and the voters let me continue to serve up here, I would commit to that, yes.
Thank you.
Representative Ogles.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to the sponsor, thank you for all your hard work on this legislation. My question is specific about this CTE and special ed funding, and the sub-chairman spoke to this earlier and said his concerns, but can you tell us about what enforcement capacity there is or what oversight once we allocate this additional money for special education, CTE, these different programmings, these enhanced fundings? I'm just concerned on the oversight of that money being spent, how we know, and I've heard this is a funding formula, not a spending formula, but what provisions are there in the legislation to put guardrails or assurances that those LEAs will spend the money how we've intended through legislation? And I think it's very clear through the legislation that that's the intent of the funding. But if that money is allocated for special education or CTE and they're buying new lights on their football stadium or baseball stadium, what provisions or clawbacks do we have in the legislation to address that, or oversight, or even law enforcement? Thank you, sponsor.
Chairman
very
White.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Very good question, and I really appreciate the sub-chairman's comments a while ago. And also to be clear, under the BEP, the CTE formula, we're already funding about $4,500 per student. This raised up to about $5,000 on average, so we're adding a little over $500 to this. And one reason why, well, I won't go there at this point. But if a district's not spending the money, and then we can obviously see where they are failing. Now, there are a lot of guardrails, and already if a district misappropriates funds to areas where it shouldn't be going. Now, if they choose to build football fields and not CTE, I think that would catch up with them real quick. And that's local leadership. That's things we have to watch. Everybody says, keep things at the local level. But there are guardrails in place, and working with the districts and all, but we've been there under the BEP formula. The CTE is already funded. There is an outcomes based where if you do well in CTE and you have high performance, you can even get more money for outcomes based, especially if you're addressing these high need fields.
Representative Ogles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand that, and I know the intent's good, but I hope, seems like we're giving a lot of trust to the LEAs to allocate the money as intended in the funding formula. I would hope in the future, when we revisit this, there may be more verification that money's spent kind of as intended, especially with the special needs and special education. Thank you, Chairman.
I see no other questions. So, Chairman White, I'd just like to take this opportunity. I know that you have been laboring in these vineyards for a very long time, and we really appreciate the work and the effort that you and your committees, both committees, have put into this. And I want to commend the department. They've been very responsive when I've had questions. I believe that most members have had that same sort of timely response when questions, and when we're trying to understand a major change. And so there have been a lot of questions over time, and I really do appreciate their willingness to answer my questions, sometimes over and over again. Sometimes it takes me a while to understand an answer, perhaps, but I think speaking for our body as a whole, have welcomed and we're very appreciative of the department's openness to work with us. And again, as I said, of your work. And I think we would be very foolish. There are not many things that we pass in this legislature that don't need some sort of tweaking at some point. So I think when we're looking at a bill that is this large and this encompassing, obviously, we're probably going to have to come back and make some tweaks and make some changes. But again, as been said, I think multiple times before, this is a step. It's a step in the right direction. It gets us, along with, I think, 38 other states that are already using the formula, the funding following the child. So we were really using an outdated methodology, and we don't like to be behind. We prefer to be ahead of the curve. So again, thanks to everyone who's been involved in that. And with that, I'll ask for a vote on House Bill 2143. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. House Bill 2143 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair Lady and Committee. And that means a lot coming from the Finance Committee that just went through the budget and all the many hours y'all put in making that happen. Thank you.
We just have to fight with the Education Committee for our after-hours office. So we know how long both of us are working. Next on our calendar is House Bill 2545 by Representative Alexander, who's been patiently waiting. We have a motion and a second. Thank you. Representative Alexander, you have a motion and a second. You're recognized on House Bill 2545.
Thank you, Chair Lady, and thank you, Committee. Before I get started, I just want to beg my excuse for being dressed so casually, but I'm trying to make PT and I've canceled it 3 times in 2 days. So hopefully after calendar and rules today, I'll get there, guys. So please forgive my dress. This bill I bring to you is a certified medication aid bill. There is an amendment on it. Is it traveling with the bill?
It is.
016580. This certified medical age program is been going on for more than a decade in the state. And this program is nothing more than a career ladder step for certified nursing aides, as well as to help our nursing shortages and allow registered nurses to be able to do what registered nurses do, and allow certified medical aides to be able to disperse medicine that they've been trained to do so because they're already CNAs. They've had a year experience, and now they can be certified to also hand out medication properly dispensed.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Are there questions? Seeing none, without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2545. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2545 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you.
Item number 5 on our calendar is House Bill 2283 by Representative Beck. Representative Beck, you are recognized. We have a motion and a second. We have 2 amendments that have been filed on this bill, but I understand that you just want to move forward with one.
That's correct, Madam Chair. It's 017703.
That's what I have. Do I have a motion on Amendment 017703? We have a motion and a second. Representative Beck, please explain your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee. Last August here in Nashville down on Broadway, a young man, Dallas Jordan Barrett, went to have an evening out with his friends. An altercation occurred at the bar known as Whiskey Row. He was taken down by security. He was became unresponsive and later died. A grand jury has indicted 6 employees of Whiskey Row for reckless homicide. 6 of the employees working as security guards, 4 were unlicensed. What this bill does is there's a gap in training between an unarmed security guard working for a agency and a unarmed security guard who works for a PSO, a private security organization. These PSOs, like at Whiskey Row, do not require any type of training from, and the Department of Commerce and Insurance does not require any training. This bill will bring the unlicensed PSOs that work at an establishment where alcohol is consumed to the same level as unarmed security guards that work for an agency with additional training and CPR training also. And with that, I stand to take questions.
I believe, Representative Beck, that the part about these officers, this is applying to premises where alcohol is consumed. That is the change in the amendment. Is that correct?
That is correct, Madam Chair. Upon discussions with the industry, Department of Commerce and Insurance, ABC, and people who owners of these establishments, this was the final draft.
All right, so the amendment as just described, 017703, we need to get that attached to the bill. All in favor, please signify. Motion, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. We're voting on the amendment 017703. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. So the amendment is now attached. And Mr. Sponsor, do you have anything to add on the bill as amended?
No, Madam Chair, I think I got a little ahead of
Attached, and I apologize.
All right, any questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2283. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2283 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair and Committee.
Item 6 on our calendar, House Bill 2278 by Representative Powell. We have a motion and a second. Representative Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill would have TASER study the expansion of Amtrak passenger rail across the state of Tennessee. I've worked on this legislation with TDOT and the Class 1 railroads, who are both been very helpful in crafting this legislation. But my hope is to continue to look at the expansion of Amtrak and what that would require as a state.
So this is a TASER study, members. Are there any questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, without objection, we are voting on House Bill 2278. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2278 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman.
Item number 7 on our calendar, House Bill 2384, being presented by Chairman Todd. Chairman Todd, you have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I believe there's an amendment on this. Is it traveling already?
It is not traveling, and Chairman Todd, is my understanding that this amendment would require some additional funding, and it would probably be best if we don't attach this amendment.
Then I'm fine with the bill as it stands.
Thank you, Chairman Todd. I believe that was a very good decision. Previous question has been called. Any objection? Seeing none. We're voting on House Bill 2384. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? House Bill 2384 moves on to calendar and rules. House Bill 2761 is next on our calendar, being presented by Chairman Reedy. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Reedy, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we need to add an amendment on this that rewrites the bill.
And the drafting code that you have on that amendment, sir?
17244.
That's what we have. So we are considering, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second on drafting code 017244. Chairman Reedy, please describe the amendment, which rewrites the bill.
Quickly, as it is stated, it directs TASER to perform a study for the overall effect of utility-scale solar energy development in the state of Tennessee.
You've heard the explanation. Are there questions on the amendment? Seeing none, we're voting on Amendment 017244. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We now have the bill in proper posture, and Chairman Reedy, don't go away. We just voted on the amendment, but we still have a bill.
Showing I'm in a hurry too.
So we have House Bill 2761 as amended is now before us. Are there any questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2761. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill
you very much.
2761 moves to calendar and rules.
Okay, committee members, the last item on our regular calendar is item number 9. It's House Bill 2609 by Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Motion.
Chair Lady Hazelwood, you have a motion and a second. There is an amendment. It's drafting code 015656. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Chair Lady Hazelwood, you're recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the amendment does make the bill.
Okay, then let's go ahead and put that on the bill. Okay, motion and second. All in favor of putting the amendment on the bill, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. The amendment goes on the bill. Chair Lady Hazelwood, you're now recognized on House Bill 2609.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill would help with the construction of a new multi-use venue in Chattanooga. The primary tenant would be the Chattanooga Lookouts, a minor league baseball team. This amendment would allow the Lookouts to use the sales tax dollars collected in the stadium. This is similar to what we have done for other stadiums across the state. There is one caveat here that we have not imposed in other places, and in hindsight, I wish that we had. But this amendment guarantees the county the ability to continue to receiving the portion of the tax generated for schools to be used for education. So with that explanation, I would renew my motion.
Okay, are there any questions on the bill? Question's been called. We are voting to send House Bill 2609 to calendar and rules. All in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes.
Just give us a second, folks, to get our ducks in a row on our next calendar. Thank you. Right, that did complete our regular calendar. Next, we will take up the bills that were previously on Subcommittee Regular Calendar 1. Those bills are on dashboard, but members, we are working off the calendars, the paper calendars, the calendars that we had during subcommittee. So just refer to those as we work through. The first one on our calendar is House Bill 325. Chairman Curcio is ready, prepped to go. We have a motion and a second. You're recognized, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. This creates a temporary task force to provide the General Assembly with recommendations to fix the Electronic Monitoring Agency Fund.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Are there questions? Seeing none, without objection, we are voting on House Bill 325. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 325 goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair, Lady, and committee.
Item number 2 on our calendar, House Bill 2392 by Chairman Moody. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Moody, you're recognized.
Thank you, Ms. Chair Lady and committee. I need to make sure I'm clarifying here when I present this. I got so excited about talking about Graceland that there are 2 of these TDZs, which is the Tourist Development Zones, and one is for Graceland, the other one is for Memphis. And so these are here before you because of the impact COVID had on the in-person sales tax collection. And it's just resetting the base revenue rate that was calculated to help them continue to be able to get caught up as the people return and visit and keep using that sales tax to pay these TDZs. So with that explanation.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor. You've heard the explanation. Is there discussion on the bill? Question has been called. Seeing no objection, we're voting on House Bill 2392. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2392 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Chairman. Next on our calendar, House Bill 846 by Representative Sherrill. You have a motion and a second. And Representative Sherrill, I'm showing that there is an amendment on this bill. Drafting code 016797. Is that what you have? We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Does the amendment make the bill, sir? All right, in that case, let's get it in proper format and then we'll discuss the bill as amended. Question has been called on the amendment. We're voting on drafting code 016797. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Drafting code 016797 is now attached to House Bill 846. Representative Sherrill, please explain what the bill does as amended.
Work for the Department of Corrections that have a difficult job. They are essential teaching in our reform schools every day, 12 months out of the year. Right now, teachers in the correctional system are paid based on the geographical local in which the prison sits. So a teacher at Bledsoe County Correctional Complex is paid based on the Department of Education scale for Bledsoe County and in immediately surrounding counties. This is one of the last, if not the last, state level job class in which to pay in geographical base rather than being based on a job itself. The amendment does one key thing, is decouples the current statutory geographical restrictions for the correctional teachers' pay scale so that we can move towards a statewide job class. There is about $1,400,000 in the governor's FY 22-23 budget for this change, and that will provide a 12% increase to affect jobs class. So this is important for the constitution of the correctional teachers across the state. So I ask that you move in favor of this consideration.
The question has been called. Seeing no objection, we're voting on House Bill 846 as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 846 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you very
Representative
much.
Sherrill. Representative Gillespie, you are recognized on House Bill 630.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee. What this bill does simply is it aligns the Vulnerable Adult Protective Investigative Team Report and the Child Protective Investigative Team Report, and it basically just mirrors each one of those, and so that each one of those reports that's sent to us has the same amount of information. This also creates a registry for vulnerable adults living in homes across the state. And with that, I welcome any questions.
You've heard the explanation. Are the questions of the sponsor? I'd like to commend you, sponsor, for bringing this bill. This is an issue that matters. So we appreciate your work in this regard. The question has been called on the bill. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 630. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? House Bill 630 moves on to calendar and rules. That brings us to item number 6, also by Representative Gillespie, House Bill 2009. You have a motion and a second. All those in favor? I'm sorry, I'm just going to skip right over the discussion part. Excuse me, Representative Gillespie.
Works for me.
Please describe your bill.
I will do that. What this does, thank you so much. What this does is if you're convicted of aggravated assault and that aggravated assault happened while you're in a motor vehicle and you discharge a firearm at someone, it would require that sentence to be escalated up to the next felony level. With that, I welcome any questions.
I see no questions. So without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2009. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2009 moves to calendar and rules. Next is item 7 by our own Leader Lambert, House Bill 1927. You do have a motion and a second. There is an amendment. Drafting code 018190 is what I have. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. We have a motion and a second. Leader Lambert, you're recognized on the amendment.
Yes, Madam Chairman, this resolves any fiscal note issues.
All right. So without objection, we're voting on 018190. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We do like things that resolve fiscal note issues very much in this committee. We are now on House Bill 1927 as amended. Leader Lambert, please explain what it does.
Yes, Madam Chairman, this puts a regulatory framework in place for THC products.
Question has been called. Any objection to calling the question? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1927. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and House Bill 1927 moves to calendar and rules. That completes the sub-calendar 1. Next, we will take up the special calendar from Sub-Finance, and the first item on that calendar is, again, Chairman Curcio is our leadoff batter each time. So Chairman Curcio, you're recognized on House Bill 1416. We have a motion and a second.
Thank you very
We
much.
also have a drafting code for an amendment.
I do. And that is amendment coded 18004.
Right, that's correct. We have a motion and a second on the amendment 018004. Chairman Curcio, does this make the bill?
It does. I believe there's another amendment following, but this is the amendment that I filed.
All right, we will add this without objection. We'll vote on this amendment, add it to the bill, and then move forward. All those in favor of adding drafting code 18004, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee. Some soft shoe.
Oh, the amendment that we have was untimely filed by Representative Ogles. The amendment number is 018230. Without objection, we will consider the amendment and we'll ask Representative Ogles to explain. Representative Ogles, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and for the sponsor and the committee, if the sponsor deems this a appropriate amendment, what this would do, it would add a new statute that he has created with this piece of legislation, aggravated human trafficking, to the list of offenses that we in the House previously passed this year, which are rape, aggravated rape, rape of a child, aggravated rape of a child, kidnapping, aggravated kidnapping, especially aggravated kidnapping, commission of a terrorist act, grave torture, especially aggravated rape of a child, to statutes in which criminal asset forfeiture is in play. So if you use assets to commit the crime, vehicles, homes, and do these horrendous acts, those are subject to forfeiture once convicted. And this is criminal asset forfeiture, and I'll rely on the sponsor of the legislation if he deems this a friendly amendment or not. But thank you, committee.
Chairman Curcio.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee. Yes, Representative Ogles and I spoke about this. It is a friendly amendment. We realize that if this passed, then the legislation that he already passed, there would be lesser offenses that would be included than this, and so it makes sense to include them. It is a friendly amendment. If the committee sees fit, I'd be happy to see it go on.
Right, you've heard the sponsor's acceptance of the amendment and the amendment sponsor's explanation. Are there questions? Question has been called. We are voting on amendment 18230. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. That brings us to the bill as amended. Chairman Curcio.
Thank you very much. I'll be brief, but it creates a Class A felony penalty for all human trafficking offenses committed against a minor under the age of 13, not just trafficking for a commercial sex act. It also clarifies that a Class A felony penalty for human trafficking offenses committed against minors created by the governor's bill apply only to offenses committed to minors no more than 12 but less than 18. And then it adds both patronizing and promoting the prostitution of a minor to the list of offenses considered to be human trafficking offenses. So these are very serious offenses, and we want to make sure we take them that way.
Is there discussion on the bill? Seeing none, without objection, we're voting on House Bill 1416 as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1416 goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair, Lady, and committee.
Curcio. Next, we have House Bill 1405. It's item number 3 on your special calendar by Chairman Hawford. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Hawford, you are recognized. And Chairman, I understand that there's an amendment that you would like to move forward with 017696. Is that correct?
That is correct. We added that in subcommittee a little bit ago.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Without objection, we are voting on Amendment 017696. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. Chairman Hoffer, please explain your bill as amended.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As amended, House Bill 1405 will modernize the agricultural sales tax exemption law so it is simple for the farmer, the retailer, and the Tennessee Department of Revenue to use and understand. As amended, farmers of the agricultural exemption certificate will not have to pay sales tax on any tangible personal property, including building material, repair, service, labor, warranty, software, or any other item which is used for production of agricultural products. And I might point out, Madam Chairman, that under current law, there are some items that will not be covered under this, which includes automobiles, trucks, household appliances, gasoline, diesel, and I think that's about it. So with that, Madam Chairman, I renew my motion.
Thank you. Are there questions of the sponsor? Chairman Hopper, I have a question. Is this maybe your last bill before the General Assembly, or do you have others?
Yes, ma'am, and I feel a little bit redundant today, so.
Yeah, trust me, you're not redundant. And if this is your last bill, it's a great bill to go out on because it's going to make a difference for Tennessee farmers, a big difference. So congratulations, sir. And we will work with you to get this across the finish line on the House floor.
I'm
hopefully
confident that we
soon.
can do that. Thank you.
All right, without objection, we're voting on House Bill 1405. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1405 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Next on our calendar is House Bill 1188 by Representative Garrett. I have a motion and a second. We do have an amendment on this bill. Representative Garrett, the drafting code you have, please.
Yes, that is 015841.
Right. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Representative Garrett, would you like to explain the amendment, or does it make the bill?
Sure, it does not make the bill. All the amendment does, this bill was passed last session, so it changes the effective date to July 1, 2022.
All right, you've heard the explanation of the amendment. So without objection, we're voting on the amendment 015841. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. And now, Representative Garrett, if you would explain the bill as amended with the new effective date.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Committee, this bill relates to the interlock device when you're charged with a DUI and what it does. You cannot have an interlock device or a transdermal device until conviction. What this does is allows for an interlock device to be a condition of bond if it is sort of an enhanced DUI, meaning that you have one already, or it's your first DUI and then you have a minor in the vehicle, or it's vehicular assault, et cetera. You can actually now have the interlock device as part of your bond. So with that, committee, I'll be happy to take any questions on the amended legislation. Otherwise, I renew my motion.
Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1188. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1188 moves to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee.
That completes the special calendar. Next, we will be taking up the behind the budget calendar. All right, we are now working on the behind the budget calendar. First item on that agenda is our own Chairman Farmer with House Bill 2663. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Farmer,
Thank you,
explain
Madam
your
Chair
bill.
and members. What this is, I've had the honor to carry this bill for Speaker Sexton. He's creating the Mental Health Treatment Act of 2022. It's going to create a mental health court treatment program. And a lot of times I'm in court and I see folks come in, a lot of times veterans coming in PTSD and things like that. And they may have committed crimes, low-level offensive, nothing aggravated in nature, but this would give them an optional relief to go and do something alternatively of receiving a criminal offense on their record. So I think it's a good program, good policy, and I'd ask for a positive recommendation.
Thank you, Chairman Farmer. And we have some of those courts in my county, and they have really made a difference. So we appreciate yours and the speaker's work on this regard.
Thank you.
Are there questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2663. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2663 goes to calendar and rules. And Chairman Farmer, I believe that you also have House Bill 2436, which was item number 18 on our previous calendar. And do I have a motion? We have a motion and a second. So Chairman Farmer, you're recognized.
And thank you, Madam Chair, committee members. Members, what this does is right now we have the Tennessee Promise Scholarship, and that means that when a child graduates from high school, they can go on and go to college, right? There's no mechanism in the law that allow for a child that graduates early. So they graduate as a junior, they worked hard, they're ready to go. There's no mechanism in the law for them to take advantage of this Promise Scholarship. This would create that mechanism for them and to allow their motivation to result in their education. So just ask for passage.
With that explanation, are there questions? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2436. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2436 moves on to calendar and rules. Thank you, Chairman Farmer.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
That brings us to item number 2 on our calendar, House Bill 2666 by Representative Sexton. Representative Sexton, do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second. Representative Sexton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This also is, I'm carrying this for Speaker Sexton, and it has to do with the librarians, and it changes somewhat how that the books in our libraries are looked at, and then be looked at by the commission after that the librarian and the LEA gives their list to the commissions, and we're adding to that commission that will be voting members. And we have an untimely filed amendment 018226.
Right. Without objection, we will be considering amendment 18226. I need a motion and we have a motion and a second. And Representative Sexton, if you would describe the amendment to us.
Actually, I was explaining the amendment. I apologize. But that is the amendment. It there's no clear direction right now on how these books are getting in there. And so this lets the librarians make the list of the libraries or the books that they have in their library, along with the LEAs, and the LEA presents it to the commission. The commission, textbook commission, takes a look at it, and they approve it, and we're adding 2 members to that textbook commission. So I'll be glad to answer any questions or renew my motion.
All right, we are, without additional questions, we are voting on the amendment 18226. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. We're back on the House Bill 2666 as amended, and I believe Representative Sexton, you explained the bill in the course of explaining the amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, and the amendment does make the bill.
All right, thank you. Any discussion on the bill? Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Sexton, is there a way if, once the librarian submits their list, and if for some reason an item on that list has been turned down, or the list, I guess, has been turned down, is there an appeal process that they might go through?
That's a great question, and I do appreciate you asking because it brings up the fact that there is actually an appeals process even for parents. So if a parent sees a book that that's on the list that they don't like, that they can appeal that and ask to reconsider their motion, so, or their action. So yes, you're exactly right. There is an appeals process, and I appreciate you bringing that to all of our attentions.
All right, thank you, Representative Sexton. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other questions? Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I have a financial question related to this. So if there are books that are deemed inappropriate and have to be removed, is there any mechanism for compensation of the LEAs for the cost of these materials?
Representative Sexton.
That's a good question, and Anastasia Legal is available, or she said she was going to be, but I haven't seen her yet. So, is she in? She's probably in the back room. She's available to come and answer that question. Wrong one.
It's not Anastasia.
Anastasia just got a lot uglier. I'll tell you that.
We will take a short pause, and we are reaching out to Ms. Campbell to see if she can join us and answer that question.
Nothing. We just need a question.
We're out of session, right? Go out of
Madam,
session.
are you available to answer questions? Right.
They purchase materials and then the authority. Chairman Todd, I'm told that the answer to your question is no. Are there other questions? While we have legal with us, anything else in that regard? All right. Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Are there further questions on House Bill 2668? The question has been called on the bill. Without objection, without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2666. House Bill 2666 as amended by Amendment Code 18226. All in favor of the bill, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? If you'd like to be a no, see the clerk. The ayes have it. And House Bill 2666 moves
It
on to
was for the
calendar and rules.
libraries to get rid of.
Next, we have 2668. Chairman Zachary, I believe you're carrying this bill that also has Speaker Sexton's name on it. We have a motion and a second. You're recognized on House Bill 2668.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this simply puts the commissioned officers with TWRA and TBA in the same alignment with the Tennessee Highway Patrol based on retirement benefits. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Do we have questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2668. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2668 moves on to calendar and rules.
Yeah, not much.
Chairman Zachary, I believe you also have House Bill 2676, which is item number 35 on the calendar we worked from on sub. Do you have a motion on the bill? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Chairman Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this simply provides further transparency for any procurement contracts that are sole source that are issued during a state of emergency. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, We're voting on House Bill 2676. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2676 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
That brings us back to item number 4 on our calendar, House Bill 2661 by Chairman Sapicki. Do we have a motion? We have a motion and a second. Chairman Sapicki, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We have an amendment on this bill. 018123 makes the bill, or rewrites the bill, I'm sorry.
Drafting Code 18123, which does rewrite the bill. Do I have a motion on the amendment? We have a motion and a second, and you say it does rewrite the bill.
Yes, ma'am.
So Chairman Sapicki, if you would explain the amendment, then, well, I tell you, we'll attach it and then come back. We're voting on 18123. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And drafting code 18123 is now attached to the amendment. Chairman Sapicki, if you would explain your amendment as, your bill as we just amended with that drafting code 18123.
Madam Chairman, I'll be happy to. Do we need to apply another amendment onto this bill?
We can do it after your
No
explanation.
problem. Thank you. Members, this bill by Speaker Sexton, the four horsemen here coming before you today, requires PBMs to pay pharmacies the actual cost of the pharmacy paid to acquire the drug or the device. It also provides an appeals process for pharmacies to appeal the reimbursement paid by a PBM if the pharmacy believes the PBM did not pay the actual cost of the drug or the device. It also requires a PBM to pay a dispensing fee not less than the amount paid by TennCare for a low-volume pharmacy. It also requires a PBM to allow all patients, participants, and beneficiaries of a benefit plan to utilize any pharmacy within the state that accepts the terms and conditions established for at least one of the networks of pharmacies within the state. And then an implementation change. The proposed legislation takes effect upon becoming law for the purposes of promulgating rules by January 1st of 2023, and for all other purposes, and applies to policies, plans, contracts, and agreements that are entered into, amended, or renewed to take effect on or after such date.
All right, you've heard the sponsor's explanation. This is the PBM bill. Are there questions? Seeing none, we do have a second amendment.
All right, amendment number 2 is by Chairlady Hazelwood. All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment 18205. You have a motion second. Chairlady Hazelwood, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This simply deletes the language "to induce." It's in subdivision B2 of section 5 and substitutes instead the language "to persuade." And this just fixes a Hamilton County situation. I would appreciate your support and would renew my motion.
All right, thank you very much, members. You've heard the description of 18205, that amendment. Any discussion? Seeing none, we're now voting on amendment 18220. Let me back up. 018205 onto House Bill 2661. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Back on the bill as amended.
Thank you. And without objection, we're going to ask legal to combine those two amendments into one for your next stop at calendar and rules, supposedly. We do have a question on the bill. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2661. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2661 goes to calendar and rules next.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Item number 6 on our calendar is House Bill 2346 by Chairman Boyd. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Boyd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Committee, House Bill 2346 would require utility providers in the state of Tennessee, and that would be gas, electrical, water, and wastewater utilities to develop and implement a cybersecurity plan. And then annually, they would certify that they have a plan to their respective regulatory authorities. So those authorities would then generate a report, which will be given to the General Assembly and Department of Homeland Security once a year. Madam Chair Lady, I'll take any questions.
Question has been called. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2346. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2346 goes to calendar and rules. Thank you, Chairman Boyd. And you have your two-hit wonder today. We have House Bill 2382 next, also by Chairman Boyd. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Boyd, would you like to explain this bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. So House Bill 2382 is the companion bill to the veteran TCRS bill that I ran on the House floor the other night. This would simply create a sub-account for those funds. I'll take any questions, Madam Chair Lady.
Has been called. Seeing no objection, calling the question, we're voting on House Bill 2382. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2382 goes to calendar and rules. And Chairman Boyd, I underestimated you. You are a three-hit wonder because you also have item number 96 on our from our previous calendar and sub. That is House Bill 2500. Do we have a motion? Motion and a second. Chairman Boyd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady and Committee. House Bill 2500 would simply transfer the Board of Licensing Healthcare Facilities from Department of Health to Health Services and Development Agency, would be renamed to Health Facilities Commission. Madam Chair
And-
Lady, I'll take any questions.
And Chairman Boyd, I do believe we have an amendment on this bill.
We do, yes, ma'am. I'm
And
sure.
your drafting code?
Drafting code 017022.
Great. That matches ours. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Would you like to describe the amendment, or does the amendment make the bill?
Madam Chair Lady, the amendment removes some exemptions for the reclassification of employees. So some, when they were under Department of Health, were preferred services. They'll all be executive services now. It clarifies some language in the loser pays provision if someone opposes a certificate of need and it gets approved. And then the other thing is that it allows the Department of Health to share internal audit information regarding duties that are being transferred over.
All right, you've heard the explanation of the amendment. Any questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on drafting code 017022. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. The drafting code is now attached. And Chairman Boyd, if you would have any other explanation of your bill as amended.
No further explanation, Madam.
Are there questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2500 as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and House Bill 2500 goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair Lady and Committee.
That brings us back to item number 11 on our calendar. Chairman Curcio, House Bill 2040. We have a motion. Did I hear a second? We have a motion and a second. Chairman Curcio, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this establishes standards for electronic monitoring vendors.
Any questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2040. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2040 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
And I believe, Chairman Curcio, you also have item 97,
Yes, ma'am.
and that is House Bill 2367.
Yes, ma'am.
House Bill 2367 by Chairman Curcio. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, ma'am. I do have an amendment. We put it on sub. Do we need to put it on here as well?
We do.
Okay. It's amendment coded 018003. I wish to move.
Do I have a motion on the amendment? We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Chairman Curcio, would you like to explain the amendment?
Thank you. Yes, it rewrites the bill. It makes the bill.
All right, then in that case, we'll put it on and then you can explain the bill as amended. We are voting on Amendment 018003. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And the bill is amended with the amendment that does rewrite it. So Chairman Curcio, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be brief, but it requires the Tennessee Sheriff's Association to establish a criminal proceedings notification system as an extension of the current automated victim information notification system. It's a pilot program. It'll run from July 1, 2022 through June 20th, 2025. And as a personal point of privilege, as I did in sub, I want to point out it's National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and their theme is rights, access, equality, and equality for all victims. And I want to thank you for your help on this, Madam Chair.
Chairman Kersey, I want to thank you for bringing this. It really is at least part of the work that we were trying to get done with Marcy's Law. I think it's going to make really make a difference for victims as they try to navigate their way through a system that most thankfully are very unfamiliar with. And I do appreciate you and the Sheriff's Association for working to get this done.
Cool.
Are there questions
Thank
for
you.
Chairman Curcio? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2367. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2367 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee, and thank you again for your help with this.
That brings us back to item number 16 on the calendar, House Bill 2572. Chairman Doggett. Chairman Doggett, you are recognized.
Good
We have a
afternoon.
motion and a second.
Thank you very much.
And I believe you have an amendment,
Yes, ma'am, we do.
and the drafting code on that would be?
17106.
That's very fortuitous. It matches what I have, so that's good
Wonderful.
news. Chairman Doggett, would we have a motion on the amendment? We have a motion and a second. Chairman Doggett, would you explain the amendment to us, please?
Yes, ma'am, I sure will. The amendment does make the bill. We are establishing a task force that'll be ran through the Department of the Treasury that will be conducting a study of retirement benefits for law enforcement officers.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation, and I commend you for doing this. This is an issue that we've dealt with in pensions for quite some time. Every year we have a group of bills that come before us that deal with this issue, and so I think taking a comprehensive look at the policy and fiscal implications of any changes that we might make will really help us moving forward and making good decisions in that regard. So we are on drafting code 017106. All in favor of that amendment, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The drafting code is attached. And Chairman Doggett, if you would like to have any further explanation about your bill as amended?
No, ma'am, the amendment makes the bill.
Question has been called. All those in favor of House Bill 2572, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. And we look forward to the work from this task force.
Thank you all so
Go to
much.
calendar and rules next. Item number 21 on our calendar. Chairman Halsey, House Bill 1874. We expect dancing and singing as you come to that podium, sir.
Dancing in the street.
Please, we have a motion and a second. We also have an amendment on this bill.
Is it 11904?
That is correct. We do have a motion and a second. So without objection, we are voting on the amendment 11904. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. Now, Chairman Halsey, please talk to us about your bill as amended.
Thank you. As amended, this bill exempts from sales and use tax the sale of all coins or rare coins, currency, and precious metal bullion in the state.
Questions for the sponsor? Chairman Williams.
Thank you, Chair Lady. I didn't want to slow the train down, but I just wanted to congratulate the member on getting this bill after, I think we might be 7 dog years of work. But anyways, I appreciate your passion about the subject matter and look forward to seeing you on the House floor. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'd like to add my commendations to the sponsor for his persistence. There's a story in the Bible about the widow who continued to go to the judge, and finally he just gave her what she wanted to make her go away. And perhaps, Chairman Halsey, you have followed that model here, but we congratulate you on getting your bill this far.
This is the bill of importunity. Yes.
We are voting on House Bill 1874. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1874 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair, Lady, and Committee.
Item number 22 on our calendar, House Bill 2711 by Chairman Howell. Chairman Howell was very concerned about being late for his bill. That does not prove to be a problem.
That did
So
not
we
seem to
thank
be
you
a
for your
problem.
patience, sir. We have a motion and a second. We do. Chairman Howell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill came out of the Refugee Study Committee. It was not the report of the committee, but it came out of that committee. Senator White and myself drafted this bill with the help of DCS and the Department of Legal Services, and it addresses the situation that occurred with that facility in Chattanooga. And this is an attempt to place some sidebars, guidelines on situations like that in the future. This bill, while we recognize as a state we don't have any voice or standing in immigration, we do have standing recognized by the federal government with regard to the safety of children who come within our borders who are unaccompanied. And what this bill seeks to do is address the safety concerns that DCS has in these situations. It contains a reporting requirement to ensure that DCS knows who is being brought into the state, create a database to help ensure safeguards against child abuse by establishing a known record of those children who are served. It limits the number of children that can be housed in those dormitory type facilities. And it creates a cause of action against such a facility for a child who may have been subject to abuse at that facility, such as what happened in Chattanooga. With that, Madam Chair, I would appreciate your support.
Turn my heater off.
Should I keep talking?
All right, Chairman Howell, I apologize. We have a little
Oh, you're fine.
issue that we're trying to address over here. One of them being that evidently I have just roasted my fellow House members, but it's their turn since they have frozen me for days. But we will adjust the temperature, folks. I'm turning my heater off.
Send them to the House floor.
Leader Lambert.
Madam Chairman, I noticed that you're swinging the gavel today, and for all of us that are farther away from the middle of the room, we're perfectly fine with however you want the temperature to be.
Thank you, Leader Lambert. But I really don't want people passing out. We need your votes. So Chairman Howell, you've explained the bill. Are there questions of the chairman? Question has been called. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2711. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2711 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
And members, we're going to take just a short pause here.
All right, members, that brings us to item number 28. Item number 28 is going to be House Bill 2608 by Chairman Vaughn. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized for a brief description. I think there's amendment by Chair Lady Hazelwood. Would you like to go ahead and get that amendment put on?
Yes, sir, please. And that amendment is drafting code 017567.
All right, that's what I have. Members, do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second. Chair Lady Hazelwood, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment it has two parts. The first clarifies that this tax relief does not apply to retail sale of personal consumer electronics, including but not limited to smartphones, computers, and tablets. And also, it doesn't apply to consumer-grade modems and Wi-Fi routers. In addition to that, it also clarifies that the local sales tax relief, the local sales tax will also be waived, but the locals will be made whole. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would renew my motion.
All right, thank you, Chair Lady. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion on Amendment 017567? Seeing none, we're now voting on the amendment going on to House Bill 2608. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended. Chairman Vaughn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What House Bill 2608 will accomplish is, as grants are given to our broadband providers and broadband system build-out contractors, they will be able to save the sales and use tax on the materials purchased. We were giving, say, $100 million worth of grants, but part of that was coming back to the state. And so what we did was this actually makes a dollar-for-dollar investment in broadband expansion across Tennessee.
All right, thank you, Chairman Vaughn. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 2608. Any discussion? Question's been called. Any objection called on the question? Seeing none, hearing none, we're now voting on House Bill 2608, moving on to calendar and rules. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 2608 moves to calendar and rules.
Item number 29 on our calendar, Chairman Vaughn, you are recognized. Do I have, it's House Bill 1987. A motion, and we have a second. Chairman Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair Lady. This bill promotes transparency through the build-out of utility systems, whereby utilities, when presenting cost information that individuals, developers, builders have to provide, they do have to show the basis for how these costs are developed. This will allow us to maintain that systems are charging people consistently within their jurisdiction.
You've heard the explanation. Are there questions? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1987. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? House Bill 1987 goes on to calendar and rules. Thank you, Chairman
Thank you,
Vaughn.
everybody.
Item number 34 on our calendar, House Bill 2703, Chairman White. You have a motion and a second. Chairman White, you're recognized. Thank you for spending so much time with us today.
Thank you. It's nice to move along. Okay, 2703 committee is a simple bill that I acquired back the first year from a Senate member. It simply just asked the Department of Education to design and adopt a certificate of licensure for the issuance to educators who have met all the requirements of licensure. Evidently, they weren't getting anything, and so they wanted something they can frame and put on their wall. And so this is all this particular legislation does.
Are there questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2703. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2703 goes on to calendar and rules. Chairman White, I believe you also have item number 108, House Bill 2094.
That
Do you have
is
a motion? Motion and a second. Chairman White, you're recognized.
That's correct. This particular bill committee is a THEC cleanup bill, Tennessee Higher Education Commission, where each year they bring us things that they want to line code. This particular one deals with everything that's in everything in this bill is a technical correction to properly align the existing code for Tennessee's financial aid programs. And so it's a cleanup bill. I would like to make one correction on the record. Representative Shelby County asked me in sub-finance, is a change in the eligibility. It really doesn't address anything, but when it cleans the language up, one thing it does do, a student that lives on a border county in Tennessee. They're a Tennessee resident, but they may go into a high school across state lines. They are still eligible for Hope scholarships. So it just defines that language. It makes that clear that they are Tennessee residents. With that, I renew my motion.
Are there any questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2094. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2094 moves to calendar and rules. Thank you, Chairman White.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll miss you.
I'll be back.
Next, we are on item number 36, House Bill 2000 by Representative Cochran. We have a motion and a second. Representative Cochran, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This bill will basically prevent a high-performing teacher from being negatively affected, her overall LOE score from being negatively affected if they go to a school that may have a low growth score in a year of new standards adoption. I'll yield any questions.
Are there questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2000. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2000 goes to calendar and rules. And you have the next item on our calendar as well, House Bill 2043. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Faison, you recognize.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I withdraw my amendment.
All right, so we do not have an amendment on this bill. Oh, I'm sorry. We have, okay, hang on just a minute. I'm easily confused at this point in the day. So Chairman Faison has withdrawn his amendment, but there is another amendment, drafting code 018178. And I believe, Representative Cochran, that's your amendment. We have a motion and a second, so please tell us what it does.
Thank you, Chairlady Hazelwood. Yes, so my amendment, we were able to put that on in sub, and it does the same thing that Chairman Faison's amendment did, which is to take the portion out on kratom. This bill focuses solely now on tianeptine, which is a very dangerous drug that currently is available basically in convenience stores and gas stations. And so this would prevent that from being sold in those locations.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation of the amendment. Any questions on the amendment? Seeing none, we're voting on drafting code 18178. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. And Representative Cochran, is there additional information you wish to share about your bill?
Chairlady, since that previous amendment makes the bill, I will let that explanation stand and yield to any questions.
Question has been called. I would just say that I hope after voting on this bill, my inbox is not quite as full
it should
as
clear
it
up.
has been for the last several days. So just call the dogs off.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We're voting on House Bill 2043. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2043 moves to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairlady and committee.
Brings us to item number 39 on our calendar, Representative Alexander. We have a motion and a second. House Bill 2544, Representative Alexander.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you, committee. This bill will update the current law so that it will better reflect the technology that's utilized in breast imaging and cancer screenings for women today.
question has been called on a bill that will save lives. So thank you, Representative
Absolutely.
Alexander.
Thank
We
you.
are voting on House Bill 2544. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2544 goes to calendar and rules. Next item on our agenda is House Bill 2331 by Representative Bricken. We have a motion and a second. Representative Bricken, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is the election machine upgrade and replacement bill.
Any questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2331. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? House Bill 2331 goes to calendar and rules.
Thank
Thank you. Representative Hall is making his way to the podium for House Bill 1646. We have a motion and a second. Representative Hall, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This, the bill does have an amendment, drafting code 17013. Basically, the House Bill 1646 is regarding the assault on law enforcement canines.
Representative Hall, your drafting code number does not match ours. We have 17183.
We had,
This is the one that was adopted, right?
Madam Clerk, is my understanding, we had two amendments. And it was at the pleasure of the committee to draft the one they had chosen. And it's my understanding, it is 17013. And there's some minor adjustments.
He said 193. Repeat the number that you have again.
17013.
I think you might need to check your numbers. 17183 is the drafting code that we're showing.
The 17183, Madam Chair, reduces or moves the punishment to a Class D felony.
And that's the one that was adopted in subcommittee, sir. That's the one that reduces the fiscal note. That's the one you need.
Yes, ma'am. We'll move forward.
Representative Hall, we went through the process in sub and we attached 17183. To be consistent, we are going to attach that amendment here. And if there are differences with the other body, then we'll address those at the appropriate time. But I'm asking for a vote on 017183. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is adopted. We are back on the bill as amended. And Representative Hall, you have an explanation you'd like to share. All right, are there questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1646. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1646 goes to calendar and rules. We also have the next item on our calendar, House Bill 1833. We have a motion and a second. There's also an amendment on this bill. Drafting code 014220 is what I have. Yay, we're on the same page. That's great news. Do we have a motion on the amendment? We have a motion and a second. We are voting without objection on Amendment 14220. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Drafting code 14220 goes on the bill. And now Representative Hall, if you would like to describe your bill as amended.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, the amendment makes the bill. House Bill 1833 is regarding the disposal of car tires in unauthorized areas. Basically, 8 or more car tires in an unauthorized area is a Class A felony. 7 or less results in a Class A misdemeanor. And with that, Madam Chair, I renew my motion.
Any questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1833 as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1833 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, ma'am.
Item number 54 on our calendar is next, House Bill 1274 by Representative Powell. Representative Powell. We're sorry if we disturbed your nap.
Thank you, Madam
We
Chair.
have a motion and a second on your bill,
I guess
and there's also an amendment on the bill.
there is. It's drafting code 16612.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Without objection, we're voting on the amendment 16612. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and drafting code 16612 is now attached to the bill. Representative Powell, let us know what House Bill 1274 does as amended.
Sure. So this bill is amended, creates a voluntary work share program and allows companies and businesses to reduce unilaterally the number of hours that employees might work so that they can, rather than lay people off, they can maintain their workforce during a recession or a downturn in the economy. That way, keeping more people employed, and hopefully when things return to normal, they can get right back to business and work as usual.
Questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1274. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1274 moves on to calendar and rules. Next on our agenda, item number 55, House Bill 2723 by Representative Miller. Representative Miller.
Thank you,
We have a
Madam Chair.
motion.
Lady,
We have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
thank you. House Bill 2723 entitled officers and employees of state agencies, boards, and departments to 5 days of paid leave in the event that a minor child contracts COVID-19, or if the child's school or daycare facility is forced to close due to COVID-19, and the parent officer or employee must stay home with the child to provide for the child's care. It specifies that any paid days received as a result of the legislation do not count against any employee's accumulated sick or annual leave. Madam Chair, a question was asked earlier in Finance. Can an employee already use sick time if their child is home because of a school closure, or do they need to use annual? After talking with legal in the department, the answer, they would need to use annual if the school is closed because of COVID. And this particular bill will simply say that we will remove the annual leave.
Are there questions of the sponsor? Chairman Todd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just don't see the need in this. We don't have any closures going on right now. There's none predicted. COVID is over. We don't have any issues significant issues right now with COVID compared to anything else, common cold or anything else. I just think this is really a waste of time. And I mean, we don't even have a fiscal note on it. We don't know what the impacts could be because there's no way to predict with no closures at the time. So I just don't understand why we're even considering it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Other comments or questions? Question has been called. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2723. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? If you'd like to be recorded as a no, then please see the clerk. House Bill 2723 does move on to calendar and rules. Item number 60 on our calendar, House Bill 1738 by Representative Sparks. We have a motion and a second. Representative Sparks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. 1738 basically extends the life of the sales tax exemption on gun safes and gun safety devices.
You heard the representative's explanation. Are there questions? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1738 by Representative Sparks. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1738, next stop, calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman.
I'm not kidding. Am I lying? No, listen to me. I was listening to you.
Next, to reward Chairman Kiesling for his patience, we are going to take his bill, House Bill 2030, which is item number 100 on our calendar. Do I have a motion? We have a motion and a second. Chairman Kiesling, you're recognized.
Well, thank you. If I may, Chair Lady, can I take just upon personal privilege and say thank you. Thank you for setting the room temperature, the thermostat, at a very comfortable temperature. I've enjoyed this long wait out here, I'll just tell you, because normally I'd be wearing an overcoat, wouldn't I? But anyway, thank you very much.
Chairman Kiesling, for you and I, it may be the first time we've been warm in days.
That's right. Thank you very much. Okay, Chair Lady and members, this came to us by way of the Tennessee Marine Association. This is regarding well, indirectly, TWRA. Currently, TWRA receives 0.53% of the fuel assessment off the pumps located at the Tennessee Marinas. And again, that's at the marinas, not any other, no other pumps except at the marinas. This amendment would just simply change that percentage to 0.88 to reflect the growth that has occurred over the past 5 years along our waterways. This will go to improvements, parking lots, ingress, egress roads into those, and then as well as public facilities. So with that, I will renew my motion and entertain any questions anyone might have.
Are there questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2030. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2030 goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair Lady and
Chairman
members.
Kiesling. Who's here? Members and audience, we're going back to item number 66 on our calendar, House Bill 1899 by the very patient Representative Weaver. Representative Weaver, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you, members.
Did I hear a motion in a second? Thank you.
House Bill 1899 as amended, and the amendment is 014660.
That amendment is traveling with the bill.
Yes,
Chairman
ma'am.
Weaver. Thank you.
And so this bill, the genesis of this bill originated during the COVID crisis that we had in our district where we couldn't find teachers. And so we had an emergency crisis during that time. This bill will take care of the teachers already in place that applied for holding a second or third temporary teaching permit. And so with this bill, they'll apply through the Department of Education for a practitioner's license so that this enables teachers who are already in our classroom, who want to be there to teach our children. This will enable them to move forward and to go forward and get their practitioner's license. So it enables us to take care of our teacher shortage. It helps those teachers in place and encourages them to go on to get their practitioner's license. And that's what the bill does. And I would appreciate your passage of this bill.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor, for the explanation. And I think we are all agreed that the teaching workforce, just like many others, there is a shortage, and we do need to do anything that we can to shore that up. Are there questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we are voting on House Bill 1899. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1899 goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you, members.
We're going to, Chairman Powers has joined us from the comfort of somewhere, and we are going to take his bill up, House Bill 2226. Do I have a motion and a second? I have a motion and a second. You're recognized, and Chairman Powell, I believe there's an amendment that maybe rewrites your bill.
There's actually an amendment that's attached to the bill that came from the Senate. It's 018158. And it's just simply changing the amount that we originally had proposed for it.
All right, with that, members, you've heard the explanation of the amendment. We are voting on attaching 18158. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. Chairman Powers, explain your bill, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill is regarding the middle college program. It's operated by a two-year post-secondary institution in partnership with the LEAs. It permits students in the fall of their junior year of high school to enter into a two-year institution at the same time and earn a high school degree, diploma, and an associate's degree at the same time. 95% of all the students who complete this program continue on to get a four-year degree. And
Chairman
this
Powers,
will-
the question has been called on the bill without objection.
I just
We're
only have it
voting
on the
on,
line.
I didn't think you'd mind. We're voting on House Bill 2226. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2226 goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam
Chairman
Chair.
Powers.
Thank you, committee.
Item number 102 on the calendar by Representative Hurt. We'll take that up next. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Hurt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to double check the posture, we have an amendment that's traveling with it, making sure.
It is traveling, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill is amended, deletes sections 11 and 12 from TCA 5525-107. This code sets forth who the Department of Safety and Department of Revenue may share information with. What we're trying to do here is to prevent the information released by the state of Tennessee that telemarketers are using to create databases, which are causing the excessive number of calls to our fellow Tennesseans. And hopefully this legislation will help reduce that number. It will not solve it, but we're hoping it's a step to reduce it.
Question has been called, and I want to thank you for doing anything that will make me get fewer car warranty calls and other things in that nature. So without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2763. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2763 goes to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Committee.
All right, House Bill 2677 by Representative Leatherwood is up next. Representative Leatherwood, you have a motion and a second. I've been doing a lot of talking today. I apologize for mangling your name.
No problem. I understand. Y'all have been very busy today. I appreciate the subcommittee and the committee's work. House Bill 2677. This bill would create an offense for an employer to influence or attempt to influence by means of coercion a public servant employee to vote or not to vote in a particular manner.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Is there discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2677. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Representative Leatherwood, your next stop will be calendar and rules.
Thank you.
That takes us back to item number 68, House Bill 2625 by our own Chairman Baum. Chairman Baum, you have a motion and a second. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady Hazelwood. And I think there is a amendment on this one.
We show drafting code 018191. Is that what you have?
Yes.
Members, we have an amendment. Do I have a motion? We have a motion and a second. Amendment 18191. Chairman Baum, would you like to explain the amendment or does it rewrite the bill?
Rewrites.
All right, then we will attach that and get the bill in the proper posture. Without objection, we are voting on 18191. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. So Chairman Baum, House Bill 2625 as amended.
Thank you, Chair Lady Hazelwood. Tennessee has some TennCare recipients who are eligible simultaneously for both Medicare and Medicaid. 15 to 20,000 of these dual eligibles have selected a DSNP plan, which stands for Dual Eligibles Special Needs Plan. In order for them to receive this plan, federal law says that TennCare must contract with the carrier. There are currently 6 carriers, and TennCare has indicated that they're willing to contract with 3 of the carriers that are MCOs. But if TennCare does not contract with the other 3 DSNP carriers that are not MCOs, then those dual eligibles would have to disenroll from their plan. This bill prevents that from happening. It just simply says that TennCare needs to study the impact of such an action, report the results back to the General Assembly, and in that period of time, not disenroll any DSNP plan enrollees.
Chairman Baum, I'd like to thank you for bringing this bill. I have a number of constituents that that disenrollment would have impacted, and I am very grateful, as they are, for being allowed to have an extension, the time with being covered by the carrier of their choice. Are there any other questions or comments on this bill? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2625. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2625 goes to calendar and rules. Chairman Baum, we will, since you're on a roll, we'll go to your next bill, which is item 109 on our calendar, House Bill 324. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second. Chairman Baum, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady Hazelwood. This is the bill that would change Tennessee's grading scale from the current 7-point scale to a 10-point scale. All of our neighboring states, and in fact, most states in the U.S., have 10-point scales. We've discussed several benefits of this. One would be when families move into Tennessee, like military families moving to perhaps the Clarksville area, have students who are enrolled in high school and they have grades like 92s or 84s. Those go from letter grades in their originating state to grades that are 1 letter lower when they move to Tennessee. This would keep that from happening.
Chairman Baum, thank you for the explanation. Are there any questions? Again, thank you. Make it easier for Tennessee students to get into Harvard and Stanford and any other schools that they'd like to apply to. It puts them on a level playing field. So thank you for doing this. Without objection, we are voting on House Bill 324. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 324 moves to calendar and rules. That brings us to item number 70 on our calendar, House Bill 1661 by Representative Gillespie. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee again. What this bill does is it creates a new offense of aggravated reckless driving. I've talked to y'all a lot about this issue, and it will just add a new section here to allow prosecutors great ability to go after the people that are committing dangerous driving across the state. With that, I welcome any questions.
Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 1661. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1661 moves on to calendar and rules. Item number 71 on our calendar, House Bill 536, Chairman Hawk. We have a motion and a second. Chairman Hawk, you're recognized, and we do have an amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. There's an amendment to draft code 014332.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Chairman Hawk, would you like to explain the amendment, or would you prefer that we put it on and then explain the bill as amended?
It will make the bill, so we can go ahead and put it on, Madam Chair.
All right. Without objection, we are voting on amendment drafting code 014332. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. Chairman Hawk, please explain the bill with the amendment that has rewritten it.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. This is a vendor's compensation bill that we've talked about for several years. What this does, it allows our sales tax collectors out there, our folks who are small businesses who are accepting our sales taxes, to deduct 1% of the first $2,500 of sales tax that they collect over a month's time. It'll be a maximum of $25 a month, maximum of $300 a year, but it's certainly a way that we can say thank you to our sales tax collecting vendors out there. I do want to read for the record that this proposed legislation will not impact any local government sales tax collections, and that these will be general fund dollars. So with that explanation, I certainly stand for any questions any members have.
And I believe Chairman Hawk has amended the bill as a one-year duration. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. It is 1 year duration with the hopes that this becomes something more permanent, as vendors' compensation used to be permanent in the state of Tennessee, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We just want to make sure that we note that this is from non-recurring funds. Are there questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we are voting on House Bill 536. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? House Bill 536 moves on to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Chairman, members.
Okay, committee members, we are on item number 73 on your calendar. It's House Bill 519 by Chair Lady Hazelwood. Chair Lady Hazelwood, you have a motion and a second. We also have an amendment. It's drafting code 017570. And we've got a motion and a second on the amendment. Chair Lady Hazelwood, would you like to describe the amendment?
The amendment does make the bill. We can do it either way.
Okay, so let's go ahead and put the amendment on the bill. All in favor of putting amendment drafting code 017570 on House Bill 519, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The amendment goes on the bill. Chair Lady Hazelwood, you're now recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This legislation is one of the many tax relief bills that this General Assembly is passing on to our citizens this session. It will remove physicians, both MDs and osteopaths, from the professional privilege tax. And it continues the tradition that we've had in Tennessee of working to remove these sorts of taxes on a gradual basis, just as the same way we did with the hall tax. We're removing these category by category. And again, we would hope to move forward with additional ones in the future, but this is what we think is fiscally responsible to do at this point in time. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would renew my motion.
Thank you, Chair Lady Hazelwood. Our physicians have worked hard during COVID, and I'm sure they will appreciate this. Question's been called. We are voting to send House Bill 519 to calendar and rules. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Moves on to calendar and rules. Next item on our calendar is item number 74. This is House Bill 2640, also by Chair Lady Hazelwood. Got a motion and a second. Chair Lady Hazelwood, you are recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is another tax relief, a very large one. This is worth $121 million to taxpayers in Tennessee, and it would waive the state portion of the registration fee of $23.75 for motorcycles, autocycles, and passenger motor vehicles and motorhomes. Again, it's a $121 million give back to the citizens of the state. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would renew my motion.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Any discussion? If not, then we're voting to send House Bill 2640 to calendar and rules. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill moves to calendar and rules. And we're going to jump around one more time, this time to House Bill number 2213. This is item number 92 on your calendar. It's by Chair Lady Hazelwood. We've got a motion and a second. We also have an amendment on this bill. It's drafting code 016239. We've got a motion and a second on the amendment. Chair Lady Hazelwood, would you like to describe the amendment or put it on the bill?
Let's put it on the bill and
Okay.
describe it as amended.
Absent any objections, let's go ahead and vote on putting amendment drafting code 016239 on House Bill 2213. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The amendment goes on the bill. Chair Lady Hazelwood, you're recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this bill simply creates a healthcare task force to review reimbursement of health professionals that are employed by agencies that are performing healthcare services for the state. The duties of the task force will include studying how our reimbursement rates and wages impact the availability of a healthcare workforce and other such duties that are listed in the legislation. The task force would be charged with performing, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble finding my place here. The task force will be administratively attached to the Department of Health, and it will have 13 members, and they're listed in the legislation as what the membership would be. And the bill requires the task force to recommend a strategic action plan to guide the administration and General Assembly on how to address the challenges of quality, affordability, and accessibility of healthcare professionals in the state, study the rates paid to healthcare workers, and a number of other things. And the bill requires the task force to submit an interim progress report and of its recommendations to the Speaker of the Senate, the House, the Chair of the Health and Welfare Committee, and the Chair of the Health Committee in the House of Representatives by July 1 of 2023. The task force would be required to complete their work no later than December 31, 2024.
With that explanation, any questions? Questions have been called. All in favor of sending House Bill 2213 to calendar and rules, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bill moves to calendar and rules.
And members, we are jumping back to item number 76 on our calendar. And that is House Bill 1832 by the ever-patient Leader Lambert. Leader Lambert, you're recognized. We have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I stand ready for questions.
Any questions of the sponsor? Question has been called. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 1832. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. House Bill 1832 goes on to calendar and rules. Next item on our calendar is number 80, House Bill 2118, also by Leader Lambert. We have a motion and a second. Leader Lambert, you recognize, and I think there is an amendment on the bill.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chairman.
Drafting code 017814.
That's correct.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Without objection, we are voting on the amendment. All in favor of amendment 017814, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The amendment is attached. Leader Lambert, any explanation you'd like to share on the bill as amended?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I stand ready for questions.
Question on the bill.
Question has been called. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2118. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2118 goes to calendar and rules. Item number 83 on our calendar, House Bill 959 by Chairman Whitson. Chairman Whitson, you have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. House Bill 959 will authorize licensed professional counselors to obtain and maintain a license in other compact states while authorizing Tennessee to continue to regulate their licenses. This will remove the need for counselors to obtain a separate license in each state which they wish to practice. With that, Madam Chairman, I renew my motion.
You've heard the explanation. There's a discussion on the bill. Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 335. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? I'm attempting to rush through this more quickly, Chairman Whitson. I apologize, particularly since you have foregone your traffic study on I-65 to remain with us this afternoon, and we appreciate that. And I in no way meant to look over your bill. Chairman Whitson, you're recognized. We are voting on House Bill 959. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? House Bill 959 goes to calendar and rules. Next, House Bill 335 by Chairman Hicks. Chairman Hicks, I tried to help you out and move it a little more quickly,
noticed
but I
that.
got caught. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Members, House Bill 335 amends the Barry Brady Firefighter Cancer Presumption Act of 2019 by adding testicular cancer and leukemia to the list of cancers covered under current cancer presumption law.
Question on the bill.
Question has been called. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 335. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 335 goes to calendar and rules. Item number 87, also by Chairman Hicks, House Bill 1695. You have a motion and a second. Chairman Hicks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady and members. House Bill 1695 allows state troopers that are hired after 2015 and retire after 25 years of service the ability to receive 80% coverage of their health benefit.
You've heard the sponsor's explanation. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 1695. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1695 goes to calendar and rules. Chairman Hicks, you're on a roll. Next up is House Bill 2265. We have a motion. We have a second. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. House Bill 2265 comes to us because of a policy change made by our friends at the Tennessee Valley Authority with their Green Power Providers Program. House Bill 2265 restores each homeowner and small business to the same eligibility for the solar power equipment beneficial tax status and recognizes the new equipment of energy storage because of no access to the TVA grid. Being any questions, move passage.
Questions or discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2265. In favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2265 goes to calendar and rules. Item number 89 of calendar, House Bill 2378, also by Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Chair
We have
Lady.
a
House
motion
Bill
and a second.
House Bill 2378 clarifies that staffing services are not subject to sales tax in Tennessee and provides relief to technology support companies and all companies that use technology support in Tennessee by preventing the department from imposing tax on software development, installation, and repair when those services are performed by contract employees acting as a company's agent. With that, I stand to answer any questions.
Are there questions of the sponsor? Again, I just note for the record, this is another tax relief bill that this legislature is passing this year that will put money back in Tennesseans' pockets, about $6 million worth on this particular bill. Without objection, we're voting on House Bill 2378. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2378 moves on to calendar and rules. That brings us to item 94, House Bill 1686 by Chairman Williams. We have a motion and a second, and Chairman Williams, you're recognized, and there is an amendment.
Thank you, Chairman members. I do have an amendment drafting code 018086.
We have a motion and a second. We're voting on drafting code 018086. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The drafting code is 018086 is attached. Chairman Williams, 1686 is amended. Give us a description, please.
Thank you, Chairman and members. This bill, as amended, would set aside a 3-year pilot program for respite care for families across the state whose loved ones have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, who have long-term care. The goal is to try to keep people in their homes as long as possible. This pilot program will provide respite care services for 4 hours a week for 225 Tennessee's families. With that, Madam Chair, I stand to answer any questions.
Question on the bill.
The question has been called. I just would like to comment that, again, this is, it's not tax relief, but it is providing help for Tennesseans. And honestly, in the long run, will probably save the state dollars. So this is a true pilot where we'll be able to evaluate what we spend in terms of respite care for caregivers and how that might have impacted what we would have spent in nursing home care and other kinds of facilities. So Chairman Williams, I know that you and the Alzheimer's Association, a lot of people worked very hard on this, and will be honored to vote yes. Without objection, we are voting on House Bill 1686. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 1686 moves on to calendar and rules. That brings us to the next item on the calendar, House Bill 2274, also by Chairman Williams. We have a motion and we have a second. Chairman Williams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman and members. This bill is the result of a previous bill we had regarding right-of-way dedications and personal property rights as it relates to subdivision regulations across the state. This bill before you is the work of TASER and TASER's work regarding this subject matter over the past year. This is a recommendation to adopt the Nolan-Dolan test for planning commissions across the state. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions the members might have.
Questions of the sponsor? Seeing none, we're voting on House Bill 2274. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 2274 moves on to calendar and rules. That completes our calendars for today. Before we complete our business, I would like to take this opportunity, at the risk of jinxing us, in case we are not gathered together again before we depart, sine die, from this session, I want to just take a moment to thank some people. First of all, my Vice Chair, Charlie Baum, who has been an able assistant and done a great job. Obviously, Chairman Hicks and Chairman Williams for their leadership, the subcommittees. It has been an absolute pleasure to work with this team. And I do think we have a good team. We have a great committee, but Chairman Williams, Chairman Baum, and Chairman Hicks, they have propped me up in so many ways. So I'm very grateful for that. And members, I'm grateful for the time that you've spent, the attention that you've given. We sat through hours of budget hearings and a lot of other hard work to come to what I think is a great budget for the state of Tennessee that helps out a lot of Tennesseans. And as we have said several times, I keep saying it, I'm hoping that somebody in the media will pick it up. So far, no luck. But $300 million in tax cuts in this budget, that is noteworthy. So thank you for your hard work to make that happen. We have a most wonderful budget director, Jessica Himes, who we have been on a learning curve together, and I think we've moved pretty far down the road. Hopefully, we won't have to start at the beginning next year. Crystal Lee Karsner, our very able physical review director, our legal staff, Joel Hayes, Doug Garrett, and as you saw, Anastasia Campbell, who comes in a pinch on a moment's notice. So we thank them for making sure that the work that we do is legal and binding. My administrative assistant, Miles Buell, who I've heard many of you comment on how helpful he's been when filing appropriations amendments and other amendments to the bill. So again, this was a new experience for him, and I think he's done a great job, and I want to personally thank him, as well as my intern, who will be leaving. She's going to leave this week, whether we do or not. I'm hoping that we all leave together, Sherry Gurgis. So thanks to her. Research analyst, who is the right-hand person during these committee meetings, Mirna Jinjic. And I screwed that up again. I know I did, but I'm not going to try and repeat it. Tanner Poss, who has been our, everywhere man whenever you need him. There's Tanner. House clerks, Jordan Nichols, Eli Beasley, and Colton Teal. And just want to thank them for giving me the nod when we have a quorum and making sure that everything is signed and done properly. And our sergeant at arms, if you would stand up, and we thank you for keeping us safe and without harm from all of the folks in the audience who might not have been pleased with some of the bills that we passed. So we do appreciate your guardianship. Again, I just want to take this opportunity to, in case we are not gathered together, and hopefully we won't be, but and I have a couple other people that we're not going to forget you, Chairman Zachary. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Madam Chairman, you've been remiss. You've thanked everybody else except for yourself. And so I just want to say on behalf of the committee and the entire body, thank you, because it's, those of us on this committee know the literally hundreds of hours that you put into the budget. There's nobody else down here that puts the kind of time into knowing this document front to back and everything in between. So I just want to say, as your friend and as a member of this committee, thank you very, very much for running a phenomenal committee this year. We appreciate you.
Thank you all. It's an honor to serve in the House. It's certainly an honor to serve as chair of this committee with the great team that we have, as I said, and thanks to the speaker for allowing me to do this. Chairman Hicks.
Thank you, Chair Lady. And I wasn't going to say the thank yous earlier in budget sub because I didn't want to jinx us, but I guess that cat is now out of the bag. So I do want to concur with pretty much everything that you said, thanking all those. Going back to budget sub, I do want to thank everybody on your list, as well as Karen McMahon, my assistant. I want to thank her. But as you said, it truly takes a team to be able to pull this off all year long. So I do want to say thank you to each and every one of you that serve on budget sub, as of course, obviously, as well, serves on finance. So thank you all. And thank you, Madam Chair. You did a wonderful job.
Chairman Hicks, this is the, I got your back society, but thank you very much. Chairman Zachary, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members and those watching, we'll plan on starting calendar and rules at 5:15. We will effort to begin at 5:15. It will just plan on that time. If you are on the committee, we need a quorum, and if you have presented a bill today, you need to be here. This will be our last meeting of the year. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Without objection, we stand in recess to the call of the chair.